In today's modern world, we are all struggling to find ways to get our work done in the face of ever-increasing amounts of distraction. Tweets, text messages, emails, phone calls, heck, even when we lock the door to our own offices, we are bombarded with a seemingly endless number of threats to our productivity, our focus, and our flow states. We've talked a lot about cutting down on those distractions, about things like setting your digital devices to do not disturb mode, unplugging your router, and even using tools that restrict your access to distracting apps and websites. With that said, there is one age-old, low-tech trick that takes all of that to the next level. Working in new spaces. If you're like most people, you probably think that in order to do your best thinking, you need to be in your office or on your favorite chair with your favorite cup of coffee without any interesting or exciting new scenery to distract you. But you might instead be surprised to know that in many cases, the opposite is actually true. I first discovered this effect long before renting an office at the shared workspace that I currently work in, when I used to work in local cafes. I found that I would start out very strong and very productive in a specific cafe, only to see my productivity and my creativity decline over time. Now, I attributed this to getting to know the waiters and the other regulars, increased noise, or watered down coffee, and I would switch from cafe to cafe. For years, I switched from one place to another before I realized it wasn't the specific cafe that was improving my performance. It was the fact that I was in a new and exciting space. Since discovering this bizarre little side effect, I've tested it out many times by taking my work with me onto planes, where I actually wrote this lecture, or trains, parks, beaches, and even different floors or branches of my shared workspace. Time and time again, I've come to realize that in order to do my best thinking, I often need to change up my scenery. So, how can this be? I mean, why wouldn't my best work happen where I'm most comfortable? Well, my theory is that there are actually a few reasons for this. First off, when we enter new spaces, our brains are evolved to heighten our senses and sharpen our thinking. As I teach in our SuperLearner course, the human brain naturally and automatically memorizes the layout of any new space that we put ourselves in order to give us a survival advantage and to prevent us from getting lost, and of course, to help us remember critically important information. In fact, researchers at the Riken MIT Center for Neural Circuit Genetics at the Peakover Institute for Learning and Memory recently figured out the exact neuroscience behind how this actually works. When we enter into a new and exciting place, whether that means a beautifully designed office space or a new city, a small region of the brainstem, known as the locus coeruleus, normally a major source of neuroepinephrine in the brain, is activated in response to that novel sensory stimuli. And this activity actually triggers the release of a flood of the neurotransmitter dopamine into the CA3 region of our hippocampus. Now, this flood of dopamine is really what helps us adapt to, remember, and anticipate our surroundings. But the most interesting part of the research, to me at least, is the fact that this mechanism is completely unique. It happens completely automatically, and it's completely different from the mechanisms that help us memorize other things, like, say, scary events. This, of course, is why we can create memory palaces out of places that we've only visited once years ago, and it's why we're able to concentrate better in new and exciting places than in the ones that we're intimately familiar with. After all, dopamine is a hell of a drug. Second, new and exciting spaces provide us with new and exciting stimuli. While some of these stimuli, of course, can be distracting and bothersome, many of them inspire us in new and unusual ways. Our brains are pattern and problem-solving machines, and they thrive on the inputs we give them and find new and unique ways to combine thoughts and ideas. Therefore, my theory goes that if you change the inputs, you change the outputs. If you want to tackle an old problem in a new and creative way, change the sensory inputs that you experience. Smelling the new smells, seeing the new sights, and even hearing the new sounds all give your brain both a boost of dopamine and also a rich new set of ingredients for creative and innovative patterns of thinking. Just remember to bring a pair of headphones in case those new sounds get to be a little too distracting. The third and final reason that I believe we are more productive in new and exciting spaces is not because of what they offer, but because of what they don't offer: creature comforts and familiar distractions. While my home studio, where I'm recording this video, is probably one of the quietest and most distraction-free spaces in all of Tel Aviv, it's also dangerously close to my memory foam mattress, where I like to take naps, my refrigerator, my comfy sofa, and of course, my home theater system. While my shared office space has far fewer of these creature comforts, it still offers a litany of possible distractions, from my friends working across the way and in the office next door, to a kitchenette full of delicious beverages, and the couches where I sometimes like to chill out and read a book. In short, in the spaces that we are comfortable and familiar with, we've developed routines, creature comforts, and habits. And many of those habits, well, they don't really serve us. Whereas in my home office, I'll often turn on the TV during lunch. When I'm in a new space, I have nowhere to go, and I'll return right to work after lunch. Whereas at my office, I might chit-chat with the ladies at the front desk about the weekend. In new places, I'm focused solely on my work. By the way, this isn't a new idea. In fact, the idea that changing your environment can directly lead you to be more successful in your goals is covered in a lot of best-selling books, from my friend Benjamin Hardy's Willpower Doesn't Work, which argues that success is 80% environment, to Professor Cal Newport's blockbuster book, Deep Work, which shares the stories of many of history's greatest thinkers, all the way from Carl Jung to J.K. Rowling, who have all used this technique of going into new spaces to get ahead. So the evidence is really clear. Changing up your environment is an incredible way to cut down on distractions. So there are the reasons why I personally believe that working in new spaces is such a powerful productivity trick. Of course, it's not something you can or should do all the time, but in situations where you need to get your best work done, it's a nifty little trick to have in your back pocket. Personally, I've written a great deal of my books, podcasts, and articles in new and novel places. And when I think back to all of my most creative work, like creating this course, I can usually trace it back to new cafes, friends' offices, planes, or trains where I happen to bring my laptop along and do a bit of writing. And the best part is, sometimes it was just as simple as dragging my standing desk in front of a new window where I never sit. I encourage you to give this little strategy a try and let me know how it works out for you. You just might find that, contrary to what you might expect, you are not only more focused and more creative and more productive, but also more inspired. All right, super friends, that is all for this week's video. If you guys would like to learn more about accelerated learning, speed reading, memory, or any of that good stuff, well, do take a moment to check out a completely free trial of my SuperLearner Masterclass. You can just hit the link below, no credit card required. Also, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share this video. Thanks for tuning in. See you guys next week.